we look at 2020, if you go to the next slide, the Venezuela is an opportunity to show Colombia's regional leadership, but it's also an incredible challenge for Colombia, and that is underestimating it. Colombia has done an incredible job. It's shown itself to be a global leader, and what kind of policies could be put forward to welcome migrants and refugees. But Colombia has now 1.7 million Venezuelans that have come to the country. This has put incredible pressure on Colombia's finances, equivalent to an additional 0.5 to 0.6% of the country's GDP. The costs on education, healthcare, water and sanitation, housing are an incredible burden for the country. There's been assistance from the United States and other countries, but that assistance is frankly a drop in the bucket compared to what's necessary by the international community. And again, coca cultivation and illicit economies. Coca cultivation in Colombia increased dramatically in the years prior to President Duque assuming office. President Duque has talked extensively about really doubling down on Colombia's efforts to reduce coca cultivation. Those numbers have actually already steadied and even decreased since President Duque came into office, and this is a topic of conversation at his meeting with President Trump earlier this week, and we'll be seeing additional measures by the Colombian government. One of those which is on the docket is also the possibility of a return to aerial spraying of crops to reduce coca cultivation. Next slide. Another challenge is the continued challenge with weaker absent institutions in rural areas of Colombia. These are areas of Colombia that have long been under the control of the FARC, and now with the implementation of the peace agreement, there's an incredible need to ramp up local capacity, training of bureaucrats and others in rural areas, as well as peace implementation. Peace was never going to be easy, whether it's in building up to the peace or actually in the implementation of the peace. It's ongoing, but it's slow, and there's the additional challenge that Colombia faces by the fact that the budget constraints in implementing peace are compounded by the additional budgetary constraints of the Venezuela crisis. And if you go to the next slide, you also have the next slide, please. You also have the challenge of social unrest and President Duque continuing to struggle with improving his approval. That social unrest began in November 2019. I was actually in Bogota in early December, I think with Roger. We were both there, if I remember correctly, for the launch of our task force report. It was one of those days of mass protests across Bogota. Those protests continue, but I see, looking ahead to 2020, that without a real agenda from the protesters, I see these protests continuing, but actually continuing to, at the same time, peter out insofar as their influence and their ability to disrupt lives. And then you also have the additional challenge of a large informal economy that continues, again, especially with informal firms and informality that negatively affects economic growth rates. And couldn't go through a presentation this day and age right now without talking about external shocks, and of course the unknown external economic shocks for Colombia and for the region, with the economic implications of coronavirus, among other external shocks.